Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week, so that means cutting all my vegetables and making things that take a little bit longer. So today I'm going to make some beef stew. So I always prep my ingredients and base components for the meals, not my entire meals, so I still have some flexibility, but I can still have lunch or dinner on the table in minutes. So I'm gonna start by cutting up an onion. I'm gonna dice half, and half I'm gonna do in half rings because I'm gonna use that for different things. And I'll just get to that when we go over the meal plan. So for lunch today, as usual on Sundays, I'm gonna have some sandwiches. I have some chicken breast. I'll also do some cucumber just because I like adding a little bit of green. I mostly eat low-carb, keto-friendly lunches and regular dinners, but on the weekends I have my cheat days, so I'm gonna have some sandwiches because I really do like sandwiches and they're very convenient. So then for dinner tonight, I'm gonna make a beef stew, and I was gonna have that with some fries, but then I saw I had some potatoes that need to be used up, so I'm gonna do some potato wedges instead. And these little onions that I'll be chopping up are gonna be for my beef stew. You could use a regular yellow onion, but since I have a whole bunch of these, I'll just use that because I need to use them up. Doesn't need to be super fine since it's for a stew. Then for Monday, I do Meatless Monday. For lunch, I'm gonna have some soup. I still have some soup left over in the freezer. So I think I have tomato soup and butternut squash soup. We'll just see which one I'll grab. Doesn't really matter that much. And yeah, I made the soup a while ago, and I just put into little ice cube molds, so they're easy to thaw out. Then for dinner on Meatless Monday, I'm gonna do some vegetarian quesadillas. If you've seen me make my vegan tacos before, it's essentially the same thing, but I'm gonna add some cheese to turn it into a quesadilla. So I'm gonna do either lentils or kidney beans. I haven't decided yet. I have both canned. Then for Tuesday for lunch, I'm gonna do some chicken thighs with some broccoli. And then for dinner, I'm gonna do some chicken, probably chicken quesadillas. I have some ground chicken and I have some ground beef. Whichever I will grab first out of the freezer will be what I'm using. And for both these quesadillas and the vegetarian quesadillas, I'm gonna use some of the roasted salsa I have left over from last week. So let's see, that's onions done. Let's get that in a container. Oh, I already have a container. So for Wednesday for lunch, I'm gonna do some stuffed peppers, and I'll probably do some ground chicken, and I'll just mix it with a bunch of vegetables, and I'll put that in some halved peppers, and I'll just roast that. I might even add some cheese as well. So then for dinner on Wednesday, I'm gonna do a rice bowl with some chicken, some lime cilantro rice. If I have any of my salsa left over, I'll use my salsa for that. If I don't have salsa left over from making my quesadillas, I'll add some corn and some peppers, etc. to make like a quick little salsa. So, and I'm cutting up these spring onions mostly for garnish for my quesadillas and my rice bowl, etc. So then we're on Thursday. I'm gonna do for lunch some chicken with some green beans. And then for dinner, I'm gonna take the leftovers from that beef stew. I'm gonna put that in some puff pastry and make like little steak pies out of them. That should be good. And I'll just have that with whatever veggie I have left over. So I'm just dicing up some, mincing up some garlic. That will go in my stew. That will go in my quesadillas, etc. Then we're on Friday. Friday. For lunch, I'll have some broccoli with some fish. I have some bassa or pollock or salmon in the freezer. And then for dinner, I'm gonna make some sushi. So that will be with salmon and some cucumber. But that's the only thing I'm not gonna prep yet. The cucumber, I need to cut those into spears. And if I cut them now, cucumber is a quite soft vegetable. So that will dry out by Friday. Most other things are more than okay to prep on Sunday for the rest of the week. But cucumbers or really soft vegetables in general, like courgette, zucchini for the Americans, that kind of stuff just does not last until Friday. A few days, yes, but not all the way to Friday, so I don't prep those. But anything else, yeah, that's how I prep. I prep all the components, so I still have the flexibility, because a lot of people, when they do meal prepping and stuff, they prep the whole meals and then they're just not in the mood for what they make. And that doesn't really happen if you just plan out but only prepare the components. So I can still change things out. So because I have rice planned. If I don't feel like rice, I'll just use the same ingredients for a noodle bowl, or I'll throw it on a tortilla, or I'll just do whatever I want. And as I said with the beef or the chicken, I can do beef quesadillas if that's what I feel like. I can grab that out of the freezer, or I can do chicken. Whatever I fancy. So that's the best way to do it in my opinion. So next I'll cut up some cucumber. I said I'm not going to do them for my sushi, but I will cut up some slices for some sandwiches today. Next up, some chilies. They're going to go in my quesadillas, in my stuffed peppers, etc. So I'm just going to slice them up nice and fine. Might throw some in with green beans or something like my broccoli for stir fry. I like chilies. And these are the 3 I had left in the fridge, so I'm just using them all up. Then I have a pepper. Yes, this is a regular sweet pepper, but it's elongated. I think it's called Anaheim. This is the one I prefer. It's just easier to cut, and they're also a bit smaller, so I can just use multiple different colors if I want to, and I'm not stuck with the whole big one. I'm gonna use half of this for dicing and half for slicing. So I'll dice it first, and then the other half I'll just slice. Then next, this bell pepper. I do prefer these for stuffing because they're a lot easier to stuff. So I'll just cut in half and take the seeds and everything out. And those are ready to get stuffed with meat and veggies. And then, like I said, I have some potatoes. I was gonna do fries with my stew, but these potatoes need to be used up because they were just about starting to sprout or shoot. So they needed to get used. So just cut them into wedges, and then I'll just throw them in the air fryer to crisp them up. Then I have some carrots. I have these massive carrots. So if you use regular smaller carrots, just adjust accordingly. You probably want to use a little bit more. So I have this leftover from last week, and I'll just, because these are big, I'll quarter them and cut them. If you use smaller carrots, just cut them into coins. And this will go in my stew. And then this carrot I'll julienne using my julienne slicer. You can use a box grater as well. This is going to go in my vegetarian quesadillas. The shredded carrot is part of the bulk of that. Gives a bit of that meaty texture. And then I'll also use a little bit of this in my stuffed peppers. But yeah, I'll just quickly do this. You can cut it finely as well, but this is just a lot quicker. Alright, that is shredded carrot. Then for my lime cilantro rice, I want some cilantro. So I'm just gonna cut off the stem. I'll save the stems for things like curry paste. I really need to do some curry again sometime soon. I'll just give it a rough chop at first, just to make it easier to work with. And then I'll just keep running my knife through. Then I need some broccoli, so I'm just gonna cut the florets off, and if needed, I'll cut them into bite-sized pieces, and I'll just do enough for 2 portions. There we go. I always save the stems because I like using them for things like broccoli rice, or just in low-carb stir-fries in general. And then the last for cutting, I have a bunch of green beans for just 1 meal. And I'll just top and tail the bunch. And that concludes chopping. We're at 19 minutes. I'm just gonna put some things away that I don't need anymore. I'm gonna start preheating my Ninja Foodi on saute so we can get the beef stew going. And I'll be back in a moment. So my Ninja Foodi is preheated, and I did add a bit of oil, so that's nice and hot as well. Here I have some queued up beef, just some stewing beef. And I'll add that, and I'll just let that get a little bit of color. So I'll add a bit of salt to help with browning. And like I said, but it doesn't need to be cooked all the way through. I just want a little bit of color on that for flavor. Right, now that has a bit of color, I'm gonna add my onions, my carrots, and a bit of garlic, and I'll just let that soften. Now that the vegetables have softened, I'm just gonna add a little bit of flour, just plain flour, to thicken things up a bit. So I'll do like 1 or 2 tablespoons and stir that in. Just give that a minute. Then it's time to add some beer. You want some darker beer. I'm using a stout, like Guinness or something would work really well. So I'll just stir that in. And I'll also add a beef stock cube. You can use some beef stock from a carton if that's what you have. I just prefer keeping stock cubes on hand because it's just a lot easier to keep them. I'm also going to add a little bit of bay leaf. I have ground up bay leaf so I don't have to fish it out, but if you have whole bay leaves, just throw them in now and fish them out at the end. So I'm just going to give this a minute to come up to temperature and cook off some of the alcohol. And then I want to add a little bit of water, so I just put some water in this bottle so I can also rinse that out at the same time. Add that, and you want to add enough liquid that the meat is submerged mostly. I'm going to put on my pressure lid because I have a pressure cooker. Why not use it? You can totally slow cook this as well, or just put it on a pot on the heat. But I will pressure cook this. Let's see, the beef is pretty small cubes. So I'll do 30 minutes. That should be enough for the beef to start falling apart. So I'll just let my pressure cooker do its thing, and I'll be back when that's done. And that's the beef stew done. That's ready for tonight, and whatever I have left over I'll just use for some steak pies later in the week. And that concludes the meal prep for this week. I can now have lunch or dinner on the table in minutes. Now, if you like this kind of content, I do this every single Sunday. And if you'd like to see what I ultimately eat, you can check out my Instagram where I post every single meal, and also you'll find a written down version of my meal plan and all the ingredients that I've used and everything there as well. And you can also check out the video that I post about once a month on here where I show you everything I eat in a day for a whole week, and I just posted one this last Friday. So if that all sounds good to you, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Until next time, bye for now.